The rain hammered against the windshield as Dr. Sarah Chen pulled into the Cedar Valley Animal Shelter parking lot at 11:30 on a Tuesday night. Her phone buzzed again. 3 messages from the shelter director, each one more urgent than the last. Pregnant GSD found on highway. Malnourished. Labor starting. Need you now. Sarah grabbed her emergency kit from the trunk and ran through the downpour. Inside, the fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, casting harsh shadows across the concrete floor. Shelter manager Tom Rodriguez met her at the door, his face pale. "She's in the back exam room. Sarah, I've never seen anything like this." The German Shepherd lay on her side on the examination table, panting hard. Her ribs showed through her matted coat. Scars crisscrossed her back and legs, some fresh, some old. But her eyes held something Sarah hadn't expected. Intelligence, determination, and fear. "Hey there, beautiful girl," Sarah whispered, approaching slowly. The dog's ears flicked forward, but she didn't growl. Instead, she whimpered, her body tensing with another contraction. Sarah pulled on her gloves. "Tom, get me towels, warming pads, and the incubator ready. We're about to have puppies." "That's the thing, Doc." Tom's voice shook. "I don't think they're puppies." The first one arrived 20 minutes later. Sarah caught it in her hands and froze. It wasn't a puppy. The tiny creature fit in her palm, covered in wet fur, but its face was wrong. Too flat. The ears too round. Sarah's medical training kicked in as her brain struggled to process what she was seeing. "Tom, call animal control. No, wait. Call the Department of Fish and Wildlife, right now." The German Shepherd turned her head, watching Sarah with those intelligent eyes. She whimpered again, not in pain, but in what sounded like apology or warning. "It's okay, Mama. You're safe now," Sarah murmured, though her hands trembled as she cleared the newborn's airway and placed it in the warming incubator. 3 more came in the next hour, each one impossibly small, impossibly wrong. Sarah's heart pounded as she worked. These weren't German Shepherd puppies. They were red wolf cubs, critically endangered red wolf cubs. But that was impossible. Dogs and wolves couldn't interbreed like this, and red wolves were extinct in the wild, with fewer than 40 remaining in managed populations across the entire country. The mother dog pushed again, her body exhausted. Sarah caught the 5th cub and noticed something else. A ridge of scar tissue on the dog's abdomen, partially hidden by fur. Surgical scars. Professional ones. "Tom, I need the chip scanner." "Already got one from her intake. Here." Tom handed her the printout, his face gray. "I don't understand this." Sarah scanned the printout. Standard microchip information. Owner name: Marcus Webb. Address in Riverside, California. Registration date 3 years ago. But something felt wrong. Sarah ran the scanner over the dog's shoulder again. 1 beep. Then, as she moved lower, near the surgical scars on her abdomen, a 2nd beep. Fainter. Deeper. "There's another chip." Tom leaned closer. "That's not possible." Sarah grabbed a different scanner from her kit, one used for research animals. The screen flickered to life. Military-grade encryption, federal tracking number, and a location stamp from Fort Bragg, North Carolina, dated 6 months ago. "Call the police, now, and tell them to contact the FBI." The mother dog's eyes locked onto Sarah's. In that moment, Sarah understood. This dog wasn't just a stray. She was evidence. The rain had stopped by the time the federal agents arrived at 3 in the morning. Sarah sat on the floor of the exam room, the German Shepherd's head resting in her lap. All 5 cubs were stable in the incubator, making tiny mewing sounds. Tom had made coffee that nobody drank. Special. Agent Marcus Rivera was the first through the door, his FBI badge clipped to his belt. A woman in a Department of Fish and Wildlife jacket followed, her face etched with worry. Dr. Chen? I'm Special Agent Rivera. This is Dr. Patricia Okonkwo from Wildlife Services. We need to see the dog. Sarah didn't move. She's been through enough tonight. We understand, but that dog may be the key to a case we've been building for 2 years. Rivera crouched down to Sarah's level, his voice gentle. We've been tracking an illegal wildlife breeding operation. Red wolves, Mexican gray wolves, Florida panthers, all critically endangered, all stolen from conservation programs and forced into surrogate pregnancies using experimental embryo transfer techniques. Dr. Okonkwo knelt beside them. We've recovered evidence of at least 12 facilities across 7 states, but we've never found a living surrogate, or live cubs. The operation disposes of the animals after each pregnancy cycle. Sarah's hand tightened in the dog's fur. They were going to kill her. Yes. And the cubs. Whoever's running this is selling these animals on the black market. A red wolf cub can fetch $200,000 from private collectors. But they're also destroying conservation genetics, cross-contamination, disease transmission, disrupted breeding programs. Rivera's jaw clenched. We need her to lead us to the facility. The German Shepherd lifted her head, ears forward, watching Rivera. Then she struggled to stand. Easy, girl. Sarah helped support her weight. You just gave birth. You need rest. But the dog pulled toward the door, insistent. She looked back at the incubator where her cubs slept, then at Rivera again. Her body language was clear. She wants to go, Tom whispered. She wants to show us. Rivera pulled out his phone. I'll get a mobile vet unit and a tactical team. 3 hours later, Sarah sat in the back of an FBI surveillance van as dawn broke over the mountains. The German Shepherd, who Dr. Okonkwo had identified as Luna based on her federal chip records, rested on a cushioned mat beside her. The dog had been a military working dog, trained in detection and tracking before being reported stolen from Fort Bragg 8 months ago. How's she doing? Rivera asked from the front seat. Blood pressure's stabilizing, but she's weak. She shouldn't be doing this. Luna lifted her head, those intelligent eyes meeting Sarah's. Then she stood, moved to the van's window and whined. Not in distress, in recognition. We're 20 miles from where she was found on the highway, Rivera said. Can she really track back to the facility from here? Military working dogs can navigate hundreds of miles using scent and terrain memory, Dr. Okonkwo said. If she escaped from somewhere nearby, she'll know the way. The van stopped at a rest area. Luna jumped down, nose to the ground, and immediately pulled toward a dirt access road that disappeared into dense forest. Rivera's team fell into formation around them, weapons ready, communication gear silent. They walked for an hour. Luna moved with purpose despite her exhaustion, pausing occasionally to scent the air or check for landmarks. Sarah followed with a portable medical kit, watching the dog's gait for signs of distress. The forest opened into a clearing. At the center stood an old barn, weathered and seemingly abandoned. But Luna's body tensed. She dropped into a crouch, the same stance Sarah had seen military dogs use in news footage. Alert, ready, protecting. Rivera signaled his team. They moved like shadows around the perimeter. Sarah crouched beside Luna, one hand on the dog's shoulder. Good girl, you brought us here. Now let us handle this. But Luna had other plans. A sound split the morning air, the high-pitched cry of an animal in distress. Luna's ears shot forward. Without warning, she broke from Sarah's grip and ran toward the barn. Luna, no! Rivera cursed and sprinted after her. His team converged on the barn from 3 sides. Sarah ran behind them, her medical training warring with common sense. This was a crime scene, a dangerous one. She should stay back. But Luna was her patient, and that cry she'd heard wasn't from a wolf cub. It was a child. The barn door hung open. Inside, the smell hit first, antiseptic mixed with animal waste and something worse. Fear. Luna bounded down a narrow hallway, her nails clicking on concrete. Sarah followed, Rivera at her side. They found them in the back room. Cages. Dozens of cages stacked to the ceiling. Most empty now, their doors hanging open, evidence of a hasty evacuation. But in the far corner, one cage remained locked. Inside crouched a girl, maybe 7 years old, her arms wrapped around a wolf cub barely larger than a puppy. She had blonde hair matted with dirt and eyes wide with terror. Luna ran to the cage and pressed her nose against the bars, whining. The girl's terrified expression shifted to recognition. "Luna? Luna came back?" Sarah's heart stopped. "You know this dog?" The girl nodded, tears streaming down her face. "They took her away 3 days ago. Said she wasn't useful anymore. I thought they'd killed her." Rivera was already cutting the lock. The door swung open and the girl stumbled out, still clutching the wolf cub. Luna circled them both, licking the girl's face, her tail wagging for the first time since Sarah had met her. "I'm FBI, sweetheart. You're safe now. What's your name?" "Emma." The girl's voice was barely a whisper. "Emma Rodriguez. They took me from the park. My mom was right there and then they just grabbed me and put me in a van and I've been here for so long and nobody came and I thought nobody would ever find me." Sarah knelt beside her, checking for injuries while trying to keep her voice steady. "How long, Emma?" "I don't know. Weeks. They made me help feed the animals. They said if I was good, they wouldn't hurt the puppies." She looked down at the wolf cub in her arms. "But they're not puppies, are they? They're wolves. And they keep putting them inside the dogs and the dogs die and it's all wrong." Rivera's radio crackled. "We've got a vehicle approaching. 2 suspects attempting to flee the north entrance. All units move in. Nobody leaves this property." The tactical team swarmed the facility. Sarah wrapped Emma in a blanket and carried her outside. Luna pressed against her legs every step of the way. The wolf cub, miraculously calm, stayed nestled in Emma's arms. By the time the sun fully rose, they'd arrested 4 people. The property was larger than they'd thought, with underground facilities extending beneath the barn. Dr. Okonkwo and her team found evidence of 53 endangered animals that had passed through the operation in the past 18 months. But they found something else too. "Dr. Chen, you need to see this." Sarah followed Dr. Okonkwo into a climate-controlled room in the underground section. Rows of incubators lined the walls, each one labeled with species names and genetic codes. Most were empty now, but in the back row, 5 incubators still hummed with life. Inside were embryos, endangered species embryos, suspended in cryogenic preservation. Mexican gray wolves, red wolves, Florida panthers, black-footed ferrets, California condors, genetic material stolen from every major conservation program in the country. "This is bigger than illegal wildlife trade," Dr. Okonkwo said, her voice shaking. "This is biological terrorism. They were building a private collection of extinct animals, playing God with species that took millions of years to evolve." Rivera appeared in the doorway. "We found the financial records. The operation was funded by 3 private collectors. Total revenue over 2 years, $47 million. Sarah looked back at the incubators, her mind reeling. $47 million, built on the suffering of stolen dogs and endangered animals. And Luna had been at the center of it all, her body used as a vessel for experiments that violated every ethical boundary. "What happens to the embryos?" Sarah asked. "We're transferring them to the National Wildlife Genetics Laboratory. They'll be preserved properly. Maybe someday, when conservation science advances, they can be used legitimately to save these species." Dr. Okonkwo placed a hand on the nearest incubator. "But not like this. Never like this." Outside, paramedics loaded Emma into an ambulance. Luna refused to leave her side, jumping into the vehicle before anyone could stop her. The girl wrapped her arms around the dog's neck, sobbing into her fur. "Can Luna stay with me? Please? She protected me. She brought you here. She's my friend." Sarah climbed into the ambulance beside them. "Let's get you both checked out at the hospital first, okay? Then we'll figure everything out." But she knew. Looking at the bond between the traumatized child and the heroic dog, Sarah knew exactly how this would end. The hospital was chaos. Emma's parents arrived within an hour, her mother collapsing beside the hospital bed, unable to stop touching her daughter's face as if confirming she was real. Her father stood frozen, tears streaming silently down his cheeks. "How?" Emma's mother, Rebecca, whispered. "How did you find her? We've been searching for 63 days. The police said the trail went cold. They said we should prepare ourselves for the worst." Rivera explained about Luna, about the microchip, about how the dog had led them directly to the facility, about how she'd escaped her captors specifically to get help. Rebecca turned to where Luna lay beside Emma's bed, the dog's eyes closed but her breathing steady. "She saved my baby." "She saved herself too," Sarah said, "and 5 red wolf cubs, and probably dozens of other animals by helping us shut down this operation." A nurse appeared in the doorway. "Dr. Chen, the wolf cubs are stable. Fish and Wildlife wants to know your recommendation for transport." Sarah excused herself and found Dr. Okonkwo in the hospital's makeshift wildlife care area. The 5 cubs were larger now, eyes beginning to open, their tiny bodies healthy and strong despite their traumatic birth. "They're miracle babies," Dr. Okonkwo said. "Pure red wolf genetics, no dog DNA. The embryo transfer was clean. These cubs could be crucial to the species' survival." "Where will they go?" "The Red Wolf Recovery Program in North Carolina. They'll be raised with minimal human contact and eventually released into protected habitat. Thanks to Luna, these 5 wolves might help save their entire species from extinction." Sarah watched the cubs tumble over each other in their enclosure. Luna had carried them, given birth to them, protected them even though they weren't her own species, even though her body had been violated and abused to make it happen. "What about Luna?" Dr. Okonkwo's expression softened. "That's up to the military. She's still technically government property. But between you and me, a dog who's been through what she's been through, who did what she did, she's earned her retirement. It took 3 weeks to process everything. The FBI investigation expanded to uncover a network of 12 facilities across 9 states, 43 arrests, hundreds of animals recovered or traced. Emma Rodriguez was reunited with her family and began trauma therapy. The Red Wolf cubs thrived under Dr. Okonkwo's care. And Luna stayed at Cedar Valley Animal Shelter, officially on medical leave from the military while the paperwork got sorted. Sarah visited every day. Tom had given Luna the best kennel in the facility, with a comfortable bed, toys, and a window overlooking the play yard. But the dog seemed restless. She ate well, her strength returning quickly. The surgical scars were healing. Physically, she was recovering. But emotionally, Sarah could see the weight she carried. "She keeps staring at the door," Tom said one afternoon, "like she's waiting for something." "Or someone," Sarah murmured. That evening, Rebecca Rodriguez appeared at the shelter with Emma. The girl's face lit up when she saw Luna through the kennel window. "Luna!" The transformation was instant. Luna's tail wagged, her whole body vibrating with joy as Tom opened the kennel door. Emma ran in and threw her arms around the dog's neck. Luna licked her face, making the happy whining sounds that dogs make when reunited with their people. "We've been talking to the FBI and the military," Rebecca said to Sarah, "about adoption. Emma hasn't slept through the night since we got her back. She has nightmares. But she told her therapist that the only time she felt safe in that place was when Luna was there." Sarah's throat tightened. "And what did they say?" The military is willing to release Luna from service if we agree to adopt her. They said she's been through enough. She deserves a home where she can just be a dog. Not a soldier, not a surrogate, just Emma's dog. Emma looked up, her face pressed against Luna's fur. Can she come home with us? Please? I promised her I'd take care of her if she got us out. And she did. She kept her promise. I want to keep mine. Sarah crouched beside them. What do you think, Luna? Do you want to go home with Emma? The dog's answer was clear. She pressed even closer to the girl, her eyes soft, her body relaxed for the first time since Sarah had met her. This was what she'd been waiting for. Not another mission, not another assignment. Just this. A little girl who needed her, and whom she needed in return. I think that's a yes, Tom said, his voice thick with emotion. The adoption was finalized 2 days later. Sarah stood in the shelter parking lot as Emma's family loaded Luna into their SUV. The dog jumped in beside Emma, settling onto the seat with a contented sigh. Thank you, Rebecca said, hugging Sarah. For everything. For saving her. For understanding what she needed. Thank Luna, Sarah replied. She's the real hero here. She saved herself, saved those cubs, saved Emma, and helped take down an entire criminal operation. All while recovering from trauma most animals wouldn't survive. Emma rolled down the window. Dr. Chen, can Luna come visit sometimes, so you can check on her? Absolutely. I want to make sure this girl stays healthy. Sarah reached in to scratch Luna's ears one last time. The dog licked her hand, tail wagging. As they drove away, Tom stood beside Sarah, watching the SUV disappear down the street. Think she'll be okay? Sarah smiled. I think she'll be exactly what she was always meant to be. A good dog, a loyal friend, someone's best friend. 6 months later, Sarah received a photo in the mail. Emma and Luna in a backyard, both wearing matching birthday hats, a cake shaped like a bone on the table between them. Emma's smile was radiant, genuine, the kind of smile that only comes after trauma has been processed and healing has begun. But it was Luna's expression that made Sarah's eyes water. The dog sat beside Emma, her head held high, her eyes bright and clear. No more fear, no more pain, just peace and love. And the quiet confidence of a dog who knows her purpose has been fulfilled. On the back of the photo, Emma had written in careful letters, Luna is teaching me to be brave like her. We practice every day. She's the best dog in the world. Thank you for finding us. Sarah pinned the photo to her office wall, right beside her diploma. Some days in veterinary medicine were routine, vaccinations, checkups, minor injuries, and some days you helped save a little girl, shut down a criminal empire, rescue 5 endangered wolf cubs, and give a hero dog the peaceful retirement she deserved. Those were the days that reminded Sarah why she'd become a veterinarian in the first place. The story of Luna and Emma spread through conservation circles and law enforcement communities. The Red Wolf Recovery Program used the 5 cubs Luna had carried to strengthen genetic diversity in their breeding program. Within 2 years, those cubs had produced their own offspring, their genes flowing back into a species that had been on the brink of extinction. The FBI's investigation led to the prosecution of 43 individuals involved in the illegal wildlife breeding operation. The 3 primary collectors who'd funded the enterprise received 15-year sentences. The scientists who'd performed the embryo transfers lost their licenses and faced criminal charges for animal cruelty and violations of the Endangered Species Act. But more importantly, the case led to new legislation. Congress passed the Wildlife Genetic Protection Act, which increased penalties for trafficking in endangered species genetics and provided additional funding for conservation programs. They called it Luna's Law, in honor of the German Shepherd, who'd risked everything to expose the truth. Rivera visited Sarah at the shelter a year after the rescue. He brought files, photos, evidence of all the good that had come from that rainy November night. "We've recovered or accounted for every animal that passed through their facilities," he said, spreading the documents across Sarah's desk. 37 Mexican gray wolves, 15 red wolves, 8 Florida panthers, 12 black-footed ferrets. Most didn't survive. But because of Luna, because of what she helped us find, we've shut down similar operations in 4 other countries. And the people running it? In prison, where they'll stay for a very long time. Rivera smiled. But here's the part I think you'll really want to hear. Remember those embryos we found? The ones in cryogenic storage? Sarah nodded. The National Wildlife Genetics Laboratory has been working with legitimate conservation programs to use them properly. They've successfully implanted embryos in appropriate surrogate mothers at accredited facilities, under ethical oversight, with proper care. 16 cubs have been born so far: red wolves, Mexican gray wolves, and 3 Florida panther kittens. Sarah felt her eyes water. Luna's stolen cubs are going to help repopulate endangered species? In a way, yes. The genetics she helped preserve. The evidence that led us to shut this down before they could destroy more conservation programs. The attention her case brought to wildlife trafficking. It's made a real difference. Rivera pulled out one more photo. And look who's thriving. The image showed the 5 red wolf cubs, now fully grown, in a forest habitat in North Carolina. They were magnificent animals, healthy and strong, their coats thick and their eyes bright. Wild animals, living as they were meant to. They've been fitted with tracking collars and released into protected territory, Rivera explained. Early monitoring shows they're adapting well, hunting, establishing territories, integrating with the existing wolf population. In a few years, they'll likely have cubs of their own. Because Luna carried them to term and got them to safety. Exactly. She saved them twice, once by giving birth to them, and once by escaping and leading us to that facility before they could be disposed of. That evening, Sarah drove to Emma's house for Luna's quarterly checkup. It had become a tradition. Sarah would examine Luna, confirm she was healthy and happy, and stay for dinner with the Rodriguez family. Emma answered the door, now 8 years old, taller and more confident than the terrified girl Sarah had met in that barn. Luna bounded up beside her, tail wagging, looking every bit the pampered family pet. "Dr. Chen, come see what Luna learned." In the backyard, Emma demonstrated Luna's new tricks, not military commands or working dog tasks, simple, joyful things. Roll over, play dead, dance, fetch, the kinds of tricks that pet dogs learn from kids who love them. Luna performed each one with enthusiasm, her whole body wiggling with happiness. This was the dog she would have been if life had been different. If she'd never been stolen, never been abused, never been forced into that nightmare. But she was that dog now. Finally. "She's perfect," Sarah said, completing her examination. "Strong, healthy, happy, everything I hoped for." "She sleeps in my room every night," Emma said, hugging Luna. "And when I have bad dreams, she puts her head on my pillow until I feel better. Mom says she's better than any therapy dog because she actually understands." Rebecca brought out lemonade and cookies. Emma's therapist says Luna has been crucial to her recovery. Something about how Emma feels safe enough to process trauma because she knows Luna went through it too and survived. They heal each other. "Dogs are remarkable that way," Sarah said. "They don't just live with us. They understand us in ways we're only beginning to comprehend." As the sun set, Sarah sat in the Rodriguez's backyard, watching Emma and Luna play. The girl threw a tennis ball, and Luna raced after it, bringing it back with that distinctive German shepherd prance, head held high, tail wagging. A dog who'd been stolen, abused, forced to carry cubs that weren't her species, who'd escaped certain death, led authorities to a criminal operation, saved a kidnapped child, and helped preserve endangered species genetics. And now she was just Emma's dog, playing fetch in a suburban backyard, getting belly rubs, stealing treats from the kitchen, living the simple, beautiful life that every dog deserves. "Hey, Dr. Chen," Emma called out. "I'm writing a book report about heroes. Can I write about Luna?" "I think that would be perfect. What will you say about her?" Emma thought for a moment, her hand resting on Luna's head. "I'll say that heroes aren't always people. Sometimes they're dogs who are brave even when they're scared, and that the best heroes don't want medals or fame. They just want someone to love." Luna licked Emma's hand, her tail thumping against the grass. Sarah smiled, her heart full. Sometimes the best endings were the quiet ones, not dramatic rescues or tearful reunions, though those had their place. Sometimes the best ending was simply this: a girl and her dog, playing in a backyard on a warm summer evening, both of them safe, both of them healing, both of them home. As Sarah drove away that night, she thought about all the lives Luna had touched. The 5 wolf cubs, now wild and free. The FBI agents who'd closed a major case. The conservation programs that had been saved. The legislation that would protect future animals. Emma, who'd been given a second chance at childhood. And even Sarah herself reminded that sometimes the most profound courage comes from the most unexpected places. From a German shepherd who refused to give up, who found a way to survive, who led rescuers to those who needed help, and who, in the end, found her way home to the one person who needed her most. Luna's story was told in conservation circles, law enforcement training programs, and veterinary conferences. But the best version of her story was the one that unfolded every day in Emma Rodriguez's backyard. The story of a dog who'd been through hell and chose to come out on the other side with her capacity for love intact. That was the real miracle. Not the daring escape, not the successful investigation, not even the rescued child or saved wolf cubs. The miracle was that after everything Luna had endured, she could still play fetch, still wag her tail, still rest her head on a little girl's pillow and guard her dreams, still trust humans enough to love one completely. That was the story worth telling. The story of resilience, of healing, of a bond forged in trauma and tempered in safety, of a hero who didn't wear a cape or seek recognition, a hero with 4 legs, a wagging tail, and a heart bigger than anyone could have imagined. And every night, when Emma fell asleep with her hand buried in Luna's fur, both of them safe in their home, that's exactly what Luna was. Not a military working dog, not a federal investigation's key witness, not a surrogate mother to endangered species, just Emma's dog, Emma's protector, Emma's best friend. And that was the happiest ending any dog could ask for.